to do a cake from scratch, and the ingredients that we are going to use, we are going to use eggs. We have 4 eggs. I'm just going to do it the way I do it, and it normally comes out well. So we are going to use the eggs. We'll do 4 eggs. And then we have margarine. We are using Blue Band, but you can also use butter if you have. I have food color just to give it a taste or a blend. This is orange essence. And then we'll use baking powder and 2 glasses of flour. I've used the plastic tumbler, so 2 glasses of flour. So this is what you're going to use. Yeah, and my secret ingredient, mala. I know most people use milk, but I prefer using mala, and I'll tell you the reason why I use mala. So before you get started, you need to have at least a bowl. I love this bowl. We have the white one, but what we are going to do first, we are going to start with the flour. We'll mix the dry ingredients first. So I've used 2 glasses of flour. There's 1 glass already in the bowl. And before we use the flour, I prefer sieving the flour.
Why?
The reason why I do that is sometimes there are some small particles in the flour, so it can interfere with the outcome of the cake. So I prefer sieving so that I can remove that. And also, when you sieve, it gives air to the flour, which is good for baking, for you to get a good one. So I had already sieved 1 glass, so we'll just sieve this other one. Guys, put on the comment, how do you bake your cake? By the way, it differs. What works for one does not work for the other. But the more you keep on baking and practicing, it becomes better. Come and see, Vivian. You see, there are some particles that are big, and when you sieve, it helps big time. So we are done with sieving.
Okay.
So for me, I prefer using this other bowl than the metallic one for baking. So let's use this for mixing for now. But before we do that, I'm going to add baking powder. This is a spoonful. I used the bigger spoon, not the tablespoon. This one, 1 spoon of baking powder.
Okay.
We're going to mix that. Don't mind the mess when you're baking somehow. So I've mixed the baking powder. Something else also that I'm going to mix the dry ingredients is sugar. So for the 2 tumblers of flour, I normally use half of the tumbler. For the sugar, it should be half, not full, half. But I don't like too much of sugar or the sugary cake, so I use kidogo sugar. But I've noted the mala that we have is already sweetened, and that's why I have reduced from half tumbler sugar to at least, is it a quarter or above a quarter?
Almost a quarter.
Almost a quarter. So I'm going to add the sugar. But if you love the sugary cake, the sweet cake, you can add more, just maintain the half. But for me, I don't like too much sugar. Okay, now I've already shown you the ingredients. And the first thing that you do before even you start mixing the ingredients, the first thing that you're supposed to do, you're supposed to grease the pan, the baking pan that you're going to use. And for me, what I use to grease is margarine. You can use butter and flour. The reason why you grease the pan that you're going to use for baking is that you don't want your mixture to stick on the pan.
Okay.
So you need to make sure that you grease it. So I've just applied my margarine, and then you put the flour. It's like your icing, but I've called it greasing, just to make sure that your mixture does not stick on the pan. So for us, we have a heart-shaped pan here. So I'll just show you the end product in a few. Oops. Don't worry the mess. So okay, so this is how it looks like. Now we have greased the pan that you're going to use for baking, just to ensure that the mixture that you're going to make does not stick on the pan. Apart from that, I also have this other one for the muffins.
Okay.
I'm also going to grease them, because the remaining mixture, I'll be putting them on this tin. I prefer also doing this for the shape. So, I don't want the flat. Okay, so we are done with the greasing of the pans that you're going to use for baking. And then the next thing that you're supposed to do, you're supposed to preheat the oven before you start mixing the ingredients. It's always good when you start baking, you don't start from fresh when the temperature in the oven is not at the right, you're supposed to preheat it. Give it some heat first, so that, because the more the cake stays in the oven, the more it becomes dry. So it's always advisable you preheat, so that by the time you're putting it in, you have the right temperature. So for me, I normally use 180 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to preheat for 10 minutes at 180 degrees. So our oven has already started preheating. Okay. Okay, so at 180, at around for around 10 minutes, Okay. So after doing that, now you go straight and start. What I normally do, I go straight and start mixing the dry. So guys, we have already mixed the dry ingredients. Remember, the dry ingredients were flour. We did two glasses of flour, and then we did 1 spoon of baking powder, and we did a quarter cup of sugar. Remember, the mala that you're going to use is already sweetened. So what you're going to do, we are going to deal with the wet ingredients. So we are going to break the eggs, and for the eggs, I prefer doing it one by one, because sometimes if you just break them together in one bowl, some of them are spoiled. So I do it one by one. This one is okay. For me, I do not separate the yolk and the other part. I just do the whole thing. So remember, we are using 4 eggs. This is homemade. I'm just showing you what I do in in my house when I'm baking for my kids.
And what if you don't eat eggs? If you're allergic to eggs?
If you're allergic, okay, I've not seen a cake that is not baked without cakes, without eggs. That one I really don't know, unless if we confirm on that. But I think the eggs, these are a very important role that the eggs play. Guys, the other thing that I want to tell you, I love using the cooking stick, not the whisker. This is just the way we do it at home. So I prefer using the mwiko to mix my ingredients. So we've done the eggs. What you're going to do, we'll do the margarine. For the margarine, I took half the glass. It was half of the glass. Guys, we'll put the ingredients. We'll do a recipe around there so that you're able to see. So I'm mixing the eggs with the butter.
Why do you prefer using a mwiko to the whisker?
Okay, number one, I don't have the electric whisker, the one that.
But we do have this
fast.
one.
I have that one, but for me it's so tiresome. I prefer this one. It's much faster than the other one, and also I don't know. I prefer. There was a time I was making yogurt, and they normally advise us that we don't use the metallic items for it to be better. So I don't know if I still have that mentality, but for me, efficiency and
So
it
next,
saves me time. The other one, it uses a lot of energy. So I've mixed that. Some people put also sugar at this stage, but for me, I had already done it in the flour. So what you're going to do, the next thing that you're going to do, we'll take the flour that we had already. So I was telling you something. There's somebody, the person who taught me how to bake, she told me that when you're stirring these ingredients, if you've started doing it clockwise, you should just continue doing it clockwise. Don't do it clockwise and then anti-clockwise, clockwise, anti-clockwise. It interferes with the air. I've not gone for a baking class or something, but it interferes with the air, and which also affects the cake, how it's baked. I don't know, guys. I'm just trying to explain. But if you know the reason why, you can put a comment, your sentiments on the comments.
and by the way, another thing, why do you prefer yogurt to milk?
Yeah, so mala is my secret ingredient, not yogurt.
Oh, sorry, mala.
The reason why I prefer mala, if you want your cake to be fluffy, you use mala. I think in a way it has yeast. it has something like yeast that helps the cake to be more fluffy and very soft. So for me, instead of using the normal milk, I use mala. And remember, this mala was sweetened. So that's the reason why I reduced the sugar. Okay guys, so I have mixed the ingredients with the maziwa mala. And then something else that you're supposed to note is that your mixture is supposed to drop. It's supposed to drop, not to flow. So I've added vanilla essence. Let not vanilla, sorry, orange. We are used to vanilla. So that is my final mixture. Remember, we had already greased the pan. So what we are going to do, we are going to put the mixture in the pan. I'll just add a bit. You need to give it space for the cake to rise. So I'm just going to do like half. So I normally do that just to levelize the cake. And then the others, I'll use this to put in the muffin tin. Ooh, this is too much.
Let me ask a question. Mbona usijaze kwa hiyo muffin?
You don't fill them because you need to give it space. Remember, the cake is going to rise, so you need to give it space for that. And it seems we still have so let me just wipe the mess. We learned a lot of new. So remember guys, we had already preheat our oven. So we are going to now put the cake in the oven, the mixture, sorry. We'll do it for around
Continue.
okay. So our cake is in. And so we'll wait for around 20 minutes there, and then we see the outcome. I'm just praying that it comes out well.
I'm also. Cause nani atakula.
Okay guys, see you after 20 minutes. It's already 25 minutes. So this is our final product, our cake. So we are going to let it cool first before we do the icing. So guys, it has been a simple test recipe. You can just try this at home. I know it's not professional, but maybe you want to bake a cake for guys to take with 10 o'clock tea or 4 o'clock tea. You can do this. So this is our final product. It's yet to cool, so we'll leave it to cool.